You gotta stay. Stay. Okay. Well, he's a little bit... He's okay, buddy. Hello, Bartholomew, and welcome to a very, very in-depth recap of Rachel Gillig's The Knight and the Moth. As you can see, if you did read the book, I am dressed up as our beloved main character, Six. I was actually planning on wearing this for the entire part one of this video, but I can barely see. I hope that I'm like in frame or that I don't look too crazy. Our story begins with the prologue, reading, quote, "You know this story, Bartholomew, though you do not remember it. I'll tell it to you as best I can and promise to be honest in my tale-bearing. If I'm not, that's hardly my fault. To tell a story is in some part to tell a lie, isn't it? Once you came upon Trom's highest tor, where the wind whispered a minor tune. There the gowan flowers were white and the stones were gray, and both stole the warmth from your bare feet. A cathedral was built there, and you tiptoed, small as an insect, through the narthex, into the nave, down the aisle. Blood stained your lips, and you fell into the spring that came from the ancient stone upon the chancel. When you looked up at the rose window, the light kissed stained glass. You said the names of gods and how to read their signs. You learned how to dream and how to drown. I'm sorry, I don't care to go back to this part of the story either, Bartholomew. But I so often wonder, could the rest exist without it?" After our prologue, we transition into our narrator's POV, which is where we will stay for the entire book. If you have watched any of my other videos, every single other one has had multiple POVs and multiple timeline shifts. This is my first one where I finally get to just have one narrator and one timeline. Yes! It is late summer and our narrator is exasperated watching a gargoyle fuss over a fly's incessant buzzing in the cathedral that they are cleaning, called the Ashling Cathedral. With the fly distracting the gargoyle, our narrator sneaks out of the building and hurries to join the rest of the maidens to watch the king arrive to Ashling. Our narrator is one of 6 maidens who inhabit the cathedral, all of which have a strip of gossamer fabric tied over their eyes to obscure them. These women do not have names in the traditional sense and are instead numbered off 1 through 6, with our narrator being named Six. All of the women are perched on top of the wall that lines the cathedral grounds, and through their conversation and Six's inner dialogue, we can learn a number of things. Firstly, these women have a very close bond and see each other almost as sisters. They also are all orphaned, and none of them remember their lives from before they came to Ashling when they were children. They've also never removed the gossamer fabric that is tied around their eyes, so none of them have seen each other's eyes, and they haven't even seen their own eyes. The women watch the king and his men come into view, and they see about 24 knights accompanying the king, and the women are confused why he would bring such a large group to a divination. 3 then remarks about the rumors of the king being very young, at only 17 years old. With the king and his procession drawing closer, one initiates a game of pulling straws to see who will have to do the divination for the king. Six pulls the short straw, but before she can make her way down the wall and into the cathedral, she locks eyes with a eyeliner-wearing soldier who also has 3 gold earrings in his ear. And this eyeliner-wearing knight insults the diviners to Six. But before Six can fire back an insult, a gargoyle yells for her to come inside, calling her the name Bartholomew. And Six informs us, quote, "There were 23 gargoyles at Ashling Cathedral, and no 2 alike. Composed of limestone, they bore an unsettling combination of human and animal qualities, most fitted with wings and the gift of flight. But as much as they were distinct, the gargoyles were also all alike. They all bore a strange allegiance to Ashling, dedicated to the tor and always minding the Abbess. They grunted but rarely spoke, save this one. When it came to this particular gargoyle, who called everyone and everything Bartholomew for no discernible reason, it was better to be contrite. When he started sulking, it lasted for days." So Six and the gargoyle hurry into the cathedral, where the Abbess, the matriarch of the Ashling Cathedral, approaches her. The Abbess is pleased that Six will be the one dreaming for the king, named King Castor. Once Six is dressed in her divining robes, the gargoyle leads her into the center of the cathedral, where a spring sits. Six enters into the waist-deep water and waits for King Castor to enter. The king's knights enter first, followed by the king and the Abbess. The king pays the abbess, and she asks him what he would like to learn from the divination. The king simply asks to know if he has the people's favor now that he is king. The divination process begins, and we find out why the maidens draw straws to have to participate. The king cuts his hand in offering, and the abbess holds his hand to Six for her to drink his blood. The abbess then recites a story, which I will read in full, so buckle in. We know Traum and its hamlets like our own 5 fingers. Colson Fair, the hamlet of merchants. The scholarly city heart, the shocked, the hamlet of scribes. The fervent peaks near the mountain of our river, the hamlet of fishers. The birch forest, the chiming wood, where the foresters dwell. The florid cliffs of Balladine, occupied by weavers. The stories vary, of course, but in one way they are all alike. Traum was full of monstrous creatures, sprites who roamed the hamlets. Folk tried to fight them, but the hamlets were not unified, floundering without gods, without divine principles, without a ruler. The deaths grew, and so did discord between the hamlets. Until one night, one dark, lonely night, a foundling child left its hamlet and climbed a looming tor in search of food. The tor did not offer much life save whispering grass and gowan flowers and pale moths. But then a spring, a strange spring at the top of the tor, leaching from a great stone. The child came to the lip of the water, drank deeply, and was swept into a dream. When the child woke, sick and weak, it told passerby a vivid tale of 6 unearthly figures who would visit its wakeless mind. In time, the child learned that the movements of the stone objects were presages, and so the gods who wielded them were named omens. The omen who bore a stone coin, the child named the artful brigand. The omen fitted with the inkwell was christened the harried scribe. The omen who wielded a stone oar was called the ardent oarsman. The faithful forester carries the chime, and the heartstone weaver employs her sacred loom stone. But the 6th omen bore no stone object. It revealed nothing of itself at all, appearing only as a pale moth on tender wing. Some say it shows itself the moment you are born, and others believe it comes just before you die. We may read their signs, but it is not our place to question the gods. The moth is mercurial, distant, never to be known, even by diviners. Of course, there are those of us who have long believed the omens are vaster than the dreamscape they occupy. That the moth and the others exist, hidden in the hamlets, killing horrible sprites and swaying the fate of Traum with their magical stone objects. Ever present, always watching. And so we find ourselves in the center of Traum's greatest story. A great cathedral was built upon the spring's tor, and more foundling children were brought there to dream. And they became the daughters of Aisling, revered diviners. A king was crowned, and Traum's 5 hamlets were unified by belief, thusly named the Stone Water Kingdom. And while we all bear our own creeds, we must never forget, it is the omens who rule Traum, omens who scrawl the signs. We are but witnesses to their wonders, pupils of their portents, ever but visitors to their greatness. With that, the abbess instructs Six to lie down in the spring, and then presses Six under the water where she drowns. After Six drowns, she is thrust into a dream. This dream takes her through 6 different scenarios, one for each omen. First up, the artful brigand's coin. It is rough side up, which is a bad fortune. Next, she goes to the harried scribe. His inkwell is leaching black ink, which is another terrible sign. The ardent oarsman's oar is not touching the water, and the faithful forester's chime rings discordantly. 2 more horrible signs. Lastly, the heartstone weaver's loom hangs from a frayed thread, which is King Castor's 5th and final bad omen. There is no question about it, the omens do not favor him. After delivering her reading, the abbess wakes Six. Six then tells us her real name, which is Sybil Delling. Well, it was Sybil Delling until she gave up her name and her life as she knew it for Aisling Cathedral in exchange for the abbess's love and care. Six, or Sybil, has no memory of who she was before the cathedral or how she even got there. All she remembers is the abbess asking if she wanted to serve Aisling, and when Six said yes, the abbess drowned her. When Six awoke, the abbess told her that she had been remade into something strange, special, and new. So Six wakes up from her dream to just the Bat Gargoyle, who tells her that the king and his men are staying the night at Aisling. Six heads back to her cottage on the grounds that she shares with the other 5 diviners, but startles one of the king's knights, who is a woman named Maude. Maude offers to escort Six back to her quarters, but she pivots to get a drink of water in the kitchens instead. Maude tries to stop her, but Six persists and opens the door to find the eyeliner-wearing knight, who she bickered with earlier, shirtless, and smoking this universe's version of weed, which is called petrified idleweed. Six is startled, but the knight pays her no mind, casually asking Maude what she's doing in there. Another voice then sounds from inside the kitchens, and Six is shocked to see that it belongs to King Castor, who now seems much more at ease and confident than he was at the divining. Six and the eyeliner-wearing knight start bickering again because Six sees divining as an honor and as holy, where the knight thinks it is just one big sham. Six gets a whiff of the liquid that the king is drinking in his cup and realizes that it is stolen spring water from the cathedral. The smell of the water so soon after her divining causes Six to throw up right onto the knight's shoes, and she sprints from the kitchens. She's almost at her cottage when the knight catches up to her, and she asks him why the king is drinking the spring water. And the knight dodges the question, and they just get back into it about divination. The king asks for Six's name, but she won't answer, asking him his instead, and he tells her that his name is Roderick Mendacious, but Rory for short. And then she tells him that her name is Six. Rory is like, girl, 6 is a number and not a name. What is your actual name? But Six just says that telling anyone their true names is below them. Then they have this back and forth, quote, "But what is a diviner, really? A foundling? The Abbess strips you of your name, face, clothes, distinction, cloisters you to the cathedral grounds, where you are destined to drink blood and drown and dream. You know of the omens and signs and how to look down your nose at everyone, but nothing of what really goes on in the hamlets, nothing of the real traum that awaits you the moment your tenure is up, which, given your age, can't be too long now." Six is furious and shoots back that she serves gods, and all he serves is a boy king with 5 bad omens. And with that lovely interaction, Six goes in her cottage and Rory goes back into the kitchens. The next morning, Six is talking with 1, 3, and 4, and 4 is commiserating about how the knight that she snuck out with the evening before is married with kids. Although the abbess told the maidens never to leave the cathedral, over the years, the women have all snuck out to the neighboring town, which is close and fair, or like last night, will visit the knights that are staying at the cathedral. Six tells us that she has slept with 3 people in total, 2 men and 1 woman, but although she has been intimate, she has never really felt a spark with anyone. Which is good because diviners are strictly prohibited to canoodle. Since she is so pissed off about her conversation with Rory the night before the diviners all split up to their daily chores, Six proposes that they leave the cathedral grounds to visit Coulson Fair that night. Since their time at Ashling is up in only 49 days, Six doesn't see the harm and wants to do it all together before they are all released from their service. After some skepticism, the diviners all agree to sneak out together that night, but they need to find a chaperone who they can ensure will keep their little escapade a secret. With this in mind, Six seeks out Rory, and she finds him sitting at a table with Maude and King Castor, who Rory very casually refers to as Benji. So Six approaches them, and as she's talking to them, she realizes how much of a casual familiarity they all have together. They definitely make an odd trio, with Maude being in her late 30s/early 40s, Roderick with his eyeliner and idleweed smoking, and Benji, the 17-year-old boy king. Maude is curious about what Six and the other diviners will do once their service is up, since they've never seen the outside world. And Six says that they all have skills that will be able to earn them money in the world. And Six's is stoneworking. Rory is shocked that the Abbess has never paid them in the 10 years that they have served, with all of the money coming in from the people that have wanted readings. But Six just argues back that it is an honor to serve, and that they are fed and offered a roof over their head, and that the Abbess puts all of the money back into the restoration of Ashling. Rory keeps making jabs at Six, and divining, and Ashling, until Six lets him know that he did a great job of being unbelievably insulting, and then just blackmails the crew with the fact that she saw Benji drinking the spring water to make Rory take them outside of Ashling to go to Coulson Fair. Six spends the rest of her day chiseling the absolute daylights out of a stone wall to get her frustrations out with Rory. Basically a gothic fantasies version of like a rage room. And then that night, outside of their cottage, one sees Six approach, and she goes to sit down with her on the lawn. Six tells us that she finds one the easiest to talk to, and that she has never made fun of her for trying too hard at being a good diviner or being the Abbess's favorite. One tells Six she's sorry about how she had to divine for the king, saying that it's odd how often Six draws the short straw. And on their way inside, one notices a bundle of idleweed tied to their gate with a note that just reads, "Be ready by nightfall." So it looks like Rory will chaperone them after all. Later that night, before they go, the women are all talking about what they will do when their service is up. And Four says, quote, "When we need money, we'll work, and when we get bored, we'll play with knights or whomever we please. But we'll never give them anything. We'll only love one another, because out there, even when the shroud is off, we will be daughters of Ashling, diviners, harbingers of gods, not real women. People will want us without ever wishing to know us, but we'll always be so much more than that to one another." A knock sounds at the door, and the diviners put on their cloaks to hide their identities and leave the cottage. Rory also brought along Maude, along with 4 other knights, so it is 1 for each diviner. The group makes it over the stone wall that surrounds the cathedral and drops into a sunken, tunnel-like path through the forest. As they're walking, Six trips and is studied by a blonde knight, and he tells her his name is Hamelin, who offers to be her escort for the evening. Six agrees, and as they continue walking, Six hears a harmony of tiny voices, and they're laughing all in the trees. She looks up to see a bunch of tiny winged creatures flying above them in the trees, and Six tells us, quote, "They looked like hummingbirds, their bodies brightly feathered and iridescent, only they bore no beaks, just slat-like nostrils, thin purple lips, and round inquisitive eyes. Their jointed arms and legs were as purple as burdock flowers. When they opened their mouths, I could see rows of pale, jagged teeth." The sprites then start dive-bombing the knights, but are unable to get past their armor until one of the knights hits a sprite with the butt of his sword and kills it. We then have this exchange between Six, one, Hamelin, and another knight. Quote, "We passed the fallen sprite, its little body unmoving, as if asleep. I'd had the intrusive desire to lay my palm on it. He shouldn't have killed it. It's lovely, even in death." "Not as lovely as you, diviner," Hamelin said. One snorted and looked over her shoulder. "Didn't I kiss you last night?" The second knight laughed. "That was me. I'm Dedrick Lange from the shot, remember?" "Oh, yes. Sorry." One waved a hand in his face. "All you seem the same to me." The knights eyed each other like she'd said something funny, and I knew it was she and I, not themselves, they found indistinguishable. This thought causes Six to remember all of the rude comments Rory needled at her the night before, and in her frustration and desperate to prove Rory wrong, she turns to Hamelin and asks him if he's married, to which Hamelin responds with, "Not even close." Then Six tells one that she's gonna go fool around with Hamelin in the grass, off the beaten path. And one is very surprised, but Six persists and drags Hamelin off with her. But Hamelin quickly kills the mood by going on and on about how nobody's gonna believe that he made out with a diviner, let alone slept with a diviner, and he just keeps going until Six is like, "You know what? Never mind." And all they do is like kiss a couple times. Before Six heads back to the rest of the group though, Hamelin begs her to show him her eyes or give him her name, anything to prove that he did actually make out with the diviner. But she gives him neither and goes back to join the rest of the group. They arrive in Coulson Fair, and Six is mesmerized by all of the colors and liveliness that is going on just in this merchant's square. So Coulson Fair is a merchant's town, with their creed being, quote, "The only portent, the only prosperity, the only god of men is coin." Underneath their creed is a picture of the artful brigand's coin, which is smooth on one side and rough on the other. Suddenly, Benji approaches Six while she's dancing and asks her to come and dance with him. While they're dancing, Benji insists that he pay Six back for not tattling about the spring water and for Rory's general unpleasantness to her. Benji then offers up a game and calls Rory forward to be his opponent. The game is to challenge one of the knight's crafts, which are love, faith, and war. If the challenged opponent refuses, they have to strip naked and get chased through the field. And then if they lose, they have to strip naked and get chased through the field. Benji challenges Rory to the craft of war, telling him that Rory must remain standing against 3 assailants. If Rory succeeds, Benji will, you guessed it, strip naked and be chased through the field. But if Rory loses, Benji makes him promise that he will go and get his future divined. Rory accepts, but only if he is the one that gets to choose who is going to be doing the assault. And Benji agrees, and Rory says, okay, it's gonna have to be 3 diviners. Benji throws one more wrench in for Rory though, and ties his hands behind his back. The diviners huddle up, and 1, 4, and 6 are the ones that want to try and knock him over. Benji chooses 1 to go first, but before she steps up, 6 whispers for her to strike at his left ribs. When she went into the kitchens a day before, she saw him shirtless and she saw this big giant bruise on his side. So she tells 1 to kick that area of his body as hard as she can. 1 walks up to Rory and kicks the shit out of his left side. And although Rory's face twists in pain, he does not budge. King Castor then chooses the next diviner, and we get a very iconic line from the book, reading quotes, King Castor's finger, slightly wobbly, pointed once more. The pretty one. Rory's eyes flitted to me, but the king's finger, the knighthood's collective gaze, was trained on 4. 4's tactic is to kiss Rory just fully on the mouth, but he still doesn't budge. It's all up to 6 now, and after a little back and forth banter, 6 surprise attacks Rory, wraps her arm around his waist, picks him up, and slams them both on the ground. It was really hard for me to find fan art that I feel like properly depicts this, but 6 has told us that her main thing that she does is stoneworking. Rory is a big, muscly dude, and he's also in like full armor, and 6 is able to pick him up and body slam him. So 6 is very, very strong. She's also pretty tall too. Since 6 picked him up and body slammed him onto the ground, Rory's feet did leave the ground, so it looks like he will be getting his future divined. At dawn, 6 dons her divining robes and wakes the bat-like gargoyle, and she asks him to help her with the divination. Rory appears, and 6, Rory, and the gargoyle go into the spring to begin the divination. Rory waits until 6 has given him permission before she drinks his blood, and 6 orders the gargoyle to drown her. But he doesn't want to, since the Abbess is always the one to do it. He asks Rory to do it, but before he can even finish his question, Rory immediately refuses. Instead of the usual speech that the Abbess says, all the gargoyle offers before he submerges her is, quote, would that things were different. 6 drowns, but she does not dream like she typically does with the 6 omens and going through each stage. Instead, she dreams of a white moth, and then of the 6 omens, but they're as humans. When she looks down into the spring, she sees, quote, the shrouded Abbess and her gargoyles, men in armor and crowns that must be kings of old. Hordes of Traum's folk lined up outside the Tor for divination. I saw diviners, young girls draped in gossamer. Then the moth beat its wings once more, and the diviners' faces, their arms and legs and torsos grew distorted. Fractured, bent in terrible, grotesque shapes, they cried out in agony, but their voices were like the wind, long and mournful and without reprieve. After this, 6 begs out loud for the dream to stop, when the moth flies up to 6's face, covering her eyes, and then she experiences the worst pain she has ever felt. But before she is wrenched from her dream, she hears a voice say, quote, swords and armor are nothing to stone. 6 wakes, lying on a pew now with only the gargoyle present with her, so Rory dipped. The gargoyle remarks at how curious that was, and 6 asks him what she said, but the gargoyle tells her that she didn't say anything, which is extremely odd for a divination. The king, along with Rory, Maude, and the rest of his men, leave the cathedral to head back to Castle Luricht, and the diviners watch them go. 6 tries to write the whole couple days off as just one big weird dream, and now that they left, life will just go back to normal. But when she wakes up the next day, she knows that that isn't true, because 4 has gone missing. 2 goes missing the next day, and the Abbess has only sent 1 gargoyle each out to search for them. When 6 goes to question her, the Abbess dismisses 4 and 2 as just runaways. 6 disagrees, believing that something more sinister is afoot and that they were taken. 6 then confesses to the Abbess that she dreamed of the 6th omen when doing her reading for Rory. All the Abbess really takes from that confession is that 6 did a divination without her, and she tells 6, quote, do you think I'm oblivious, that I was unaware of your little jaunt to Coulson Fair, or that I had not noticed you dreamed twice as much as the other diviners? You are at war with yourself, 6, always thinking yourself stronger than them, better than them, martyring yourself for them. But I know you, my special girl, and I know, beneath it all, you resent them. wishing yourself half as bold as them. I understand what it means. If the diviners have run off without a goodbye, then all your love and resentment and martyrdom were for nothing. I can see why you rail against it, why you suppose their absence is part of a larger scheme, but it isn't. They left and will be replaced when new foundlings arrive. Now go, rest. You look like you need it. Six then goes back to the cottage to fill the rest of the women in on her conversation with the abbess, and that she thinks that the girls simply ran away. And the rest of the women are furious, feeling that their concerns are not being taken seriously. And although the abbess promised to lock their cottage door for their safety that night, it didn't prevent 3 from going missing the next morning. Later, Six is stoneworking with the bat gargoyle, who calls everyone Bartholomew, and she fakes nausea, causing the gargoyle to retreat from her. And using this as a diversion, Six runs to the wall they scaled with the knights when they visited Coulson Fair and goes on her own hunt for her missing friends, while 1 and 5 stay home and make sure that they keep each other awake the entire night. As Six is journeying through the sprite-filled woods, she notices the bat-like gargoyle is following her because he was worried about her. And Six and the gargoyle then make their way together to the neighboring Castle Luricht, where Benji and co are supposed to be staying. But when she arrives, the guard won't even let her into the castle, letting her know that the king and his men are not there, and they're actually on their way to the Schacht, which is the scholar hamlet. A cart full of drunk men then notice Six and the gargoyle outside of the gate because it's a diviner and a stone gargoyle, so they're not inconspicuous at all. And one of the men tries to grab Six, but the gargoyle protects her by breaking his arm. And when Six returns to the cottage to let 1 and 5 know what happened and that she wasn't able to get any insight into their missing friends, she is horrified to find 1 fast asleep and 5 gone. The next day, realizing 5 has gone missing as well, 1 decides to take off her gossamer shroud and finally see her own eyes. Then, quote, "When 1's fell, silent as it hit the floor, I turned my gaze to the wall. Her gasp filled the room, soft, quiet horror. What's happened to us?" My voice shook. What? What do you see?" 1 did not answer. When she returned to the mattress, she was wearing her shroud once more. She didn't say what she'd seen in the looking glass, and I was too afraid to ask again. That night, before they go to sleep, 1 begs Six not to forget about her if she disappears too. Six promises that if she disappears, she will come for her, and the same goes with 2 through 5, no matter what. The next morning, Six wakes and knows before she even opens her eyes that she is alone and 1 has gone missing. Later that morning, Six attempts to escape when a serpent gargoyle comes to deliver her breakfast, but he hits her hard over the head and prevents her from leaving. When night comes, Six knows what her fate will be, but there is nothing she can do since she has been barred into the cottage. But that night, Six is staring out the window when something very strange happens. The window, and then quickly the entire half of the room, gets swallowed into a shadow that seems to be moving with a little stone suspended in the air. All of a sudden, a hand reaches out of the shadow to catch the stone, with a person appearing in the cottage. Six immediately attacks, asking who it is, but he disarms her and reveals that it is Rory.
I'm on that good cushion alcohol.
Rory tells Six that Benji asked him to come and retrieve Six since he heard that she was at the neighboring castle asking to speak with him. Six tells Rory that she was at the castle because she was looking for her missing diviners and brings Rory up to speed on what's been happening. Six agrees to go with Rory back to the Schacht to speak with Benji since she wants to make good on her promise to rescue all of her missing diviners. He uses the same shadow stone thing as before, which allows them to pass through the barred door again. And they make a quick pit stop because Six wants to grab her hammer and chisel when this happens. Quote, "I say, what on earth is the racket?" The knife I didn't know Rory carried was soaring. It hit the bat-like gargoyle between his stone eyes, then dropped into the grass. The gargoyle remained cross-eyed a second, and then slowly turned his gaze to me. "Did he just try to smite me, Bartholomew?" Rory's gaze jerked. "Bartholomew? That's your name?" "No, he calls everyone Bartholomew." "What the hell for?" "Don't yell at him," I snapped. "Shall I break his neck?" the gargoyle asked me. "Or would you find that violence terribly ignoble?" "I would." I looked up at Rory, "but exceptions can be made." He glared down at me. "He's joking, right?" The gargoyle puffed out his chest. "It's my duty to protect Bartholomew against those who would harm her." He dusted his shoulders primly. "I have a remarkable talent for violence." And then Rory is like, "Oh my god, what are you talking about? I'm literally trying to help her escape the cottage that she got barred into. And he's like, you, the gargoyles, are the ones that drown her like every day, and one of you punched her in the face. Six tells Rory to be nice to the Bat Gargoyle, defending him again because that's my little angel. The Bat Gargoyle asks Six why she needs her hammer and chisel, and she tells him that she's leaving Aisling, prompting the Bat Gargoyle to descend into loud, wailing sobs. Six tries to calm him, telling him that she cares for him and that she will come back to visit, until Rory gets her attention, signaling that they are being watched by 3 more gargoyles, as well as the Abbess. Six and the Abbess have a standoff where Six tells her that she will not be finishing her service and that she is leaving now. The Abbess tells her that she should not go, that she does not know of the horrors that are in the outside world. And the Abbess orders the gargoyles to kill Rory and retreats back into the cathedral, ordering them to bring Six to the spring once Rory is disposed of. Rory asks Six to point out which of the gargoyles hit her, and when she does, Rory throws something at the gargoyle's head, and the head explodes. Rory and Six retrieve her hammer and chisel, and Six grabs for the keys in the Bat Gargoyle's hands, but he asks her to take him with her. Six is confused, and the gargoyle tells her, quote, "Is my voice too quiet?" He hauled in a breath, shouted in my face, "Take me with you, Bartholomew. I don't want to start over again and watch the children dream and never see beyond this place. I don't want to be in the middle of the story anymore. Please." He wrenched open the shed door. "Take me with you." Six agrees, and the 3 of them attempt to flee Aisling when they are attacked by 2 other gargoyles. Rory throws what Six recognizes as some kind of coin at one of the gargoyles' heads, which blows it clean off, while the bat-like gargoyle protects Six from the shrapnel. Rory grabs Six, hurrying her with him to flee when they are attacked by the 3rd and final gargoyle, and Six saves Rory's life, killing the gargoyle with her chisel to its face. On the forest road, Six takes one more look back to Aisling, knowing that the Abbess is watching. Rory and Six can hear singing coming from the sky above the forest path, seeing that the Bat Gargoyle is flying above them, so it looks like he is coming after all. Rory turns to Six and sees her smiling up at him, and he asks her if he is her pet, but Six responds with, quote, "I imagine he thinks I'm his." Rory is exasperated, fiddling with something in his hand, when Six looks down to see that it is a coin, and she thinks to herself, quote, "I caught a proper glimpse of it before he stowed it in his pocket." The coin, the thing he'd been throwing. It was larger than a normal coin, oblong and made of stone. One side was smooth and the other rough. I'd seen that exact coin before, many, many times, but only in my dreams. Rory then takes Six to meet his horse, named Fig, so that they can ride to the shops to meet with Benji. Once on the horse, Six can't stop thinking about how Rory has a coin that looks exactly like the Artful Brigand's coin. But how could that be? Because the Artful Brigand is an omen and a god, and she is only seeing that coin in her dreams in the spring. Rory, Six, and the Bat Gargoyle reach the Shocked, and where Coulson Fair worships the Artful Brigand and the coin, the Shocked worships the Harried Scribe and the Inkwell. As they continue deeper into the Shocked, they pass by a foundling house or an orphanage, and Six recalls that this is where they go to choose the diviners. Rory, Six, and the Gargoyle meet up with Maude and Benji always seems to get flustered whenever Six is around, so maybe he has a little crush on her. Maude tells Rory that they have located the person that they were in the Shocked to find, and Rory convinces a very reluctant Maude to allow Six and the Gargoyle to come along. Six keeps asking the crew questions on where they're headed and who they're meeting, but they're all just dodging them. Rory tells the Gargoyle that he will not be able to come to the visit and he will have to watch the horse Fig outside, and the Gargoyle agrees if it helps Fig. Benji then tells Six that they are taking up the mantle and challenging someone at their craft. And Benji's like, "We're taking up the mantle, Six. Do you know what taking up the mantle is?" And Six is like, "Absolutely, of course I know what taking up the mantle is." She has no idea what that means. They make it to their destination, and Six tells us, quote, "The door opened to a room with no windows, lit by sunlight cascading from a dome ceiling made entirely out of glass. Upon the wall, several stories high, were shelves stacked with books. Tens of thousands of books. In the heart of the room, fixed upon fine woolen rugs, was a man, an old man, with draping silken robes and long gnarled fingers. He stood up, but his eyes were lifted, and made entirely out of stone. In his hand was the inkwell from my dreams." The man sees Six and recognizes her as a diviner and beckons for them all to come in. The man realizes quickly that they have brought Six here with no preface as to what is going on and to who he is, and immediately confirms to her that he is indeed the harried scribe. So the omens are real and the inkwell is real. She does not have much time to absorb this information though, since Benji approaches the harried scribe and tells him that he is here to challenge him at his craft and claim the inkwell as his prize in victory. The harried scribe asks them what he will get if they fail, and Maude answers that they will be completely at his mercy. And with this, the harried scribe accepts. The omen then turns his attention back on Six and flings some ink and then is transported directly in front of her. He grabs her and then transports them to the top of a bookshelf some 50 feet off of the floor. Up there, the harried scribe assures her not to be afraid, that others have attempted to take his inkwell before, but have all died in the process. Six asks him what it means to take up the mantle, and the omen responds with, quote, "A king's quest to claim all 5 stone objects and take the power of the omens for himself. But to succeed, my craft is knowledge, and they must beat me by it," which, of course, they will not. He then addresses Maude, Benji, and Rory, telling them that he will ask them 3 questions, and they will have to get one of them right, at least. Then, if they get one right, they will have a chance to ask him only one question, and that he cannot know the answer of. Six asks the scribe to let her down, but he assures her that he will not let her fall. Maude calls up to the scribe again, and they begin their challenge of knowledge. First, the scribe asks a question of love, which they get wrong. Next, a question of faith, where the scribe asks for the name of the first ever diviner. They answer that the first diviner was without a name, which is, again, incorrect. Last, he asks a riddle of war. The scribe reads a poem and asks Benji what weapon it describes. Benji does get this question correct, answering it is not 1 but 2 weapons, a hammer and a chisel. While Benji and his group gather to get their question ready, the scribe approaches Six on the bookshelf again. Six begs the scribe to tell her the whereabouts of her fellow diviners, but the scribe will only tell her that they belong to Aisling, which means they belong to the omens. The group approaches the scribe and Benji speaks, telling him, quote, "Our question is rather simple, omen. Since you claim divinity, the god of all knowledge, tell us." He nods at Six and he says, "What's her name?" The scribe responds that the diviners have no name, but Six knows that this is false, and so do we, because we know her real name is Sybil Delling. Six tells the scribe that if he were truly a god, he would know her name, but she does not reveal her actual name to him or the group. The scribe is enraged, knowing that he is lost and is going to have to forfeit the inkwell, and with this knowledge, he attacks the group, flinging his ink at them, but instead of it teleporting him, this ink operates similar to an acid, so it's burning their clothes and their skin. Seeing the others being injured in the fighting, Six begins to climb down the shelf to try to help them. When she is still 10 feet from the floor, the scribe catches up to her, but Six knocks the inkwell from his hand. He hits Six, splitting her lip and sending her crashing the rest of the way onto the floor. Then, quotes, "The harried scribe let go of the shelf, falling, and then landing with a horrible crunch next to me. I flinched, expecting another blow, but he fell to his knees instead. The scribe lay out upon the ground. He stuck out a mottled tongue and began to lick my blood from the floor. I tried to get away, but the omen's horrible eyes wheeled onto my bloody lip. Springing to his knees, he crawled like a beast towards me. He looked possessed, as if he'd forgotten his surroundings, his vast stores of knowledge reduced to a primal urge to chase me." Rory catches the scribe and Maude holds him down while Rory uses the artful brigand's coin to blow the scribe up. He blows up into a bunch of pieces, but the pieces aren't only stone, it's almost like a casing of stone, and then the inside, the chunks are bleeding. He's made of stone, but also flesh and blood. Seeing this, Six runs from the room. Rory catches up to her, and Six attempts to take the coin from his pocket and accuses him of being the artful brigand. But Rory tells her, quote, "The coin belonged to the artful brigand. It belonged to him right up until 5 days ago, when we went to Castle Luricht, challenged him to his craft, and used it to kill him." As to the accusation, I'm not one of your precious gods, diviner. I'm the one who's killing them. With this, Six runs. She finds the stone gargoyle asleep with Fig, wakes him up so that they can flee. They run out of the city and they find a barn to sleep in. Six wakes up to find that the gargoyle has gone and stolen some food for her, which is so sweet. And then the longer that Six is awake, the more the knowledge that the omens are real and they're not gods and that her diviners are missing is just pressing down on her. So Six and the gargoyle agree to head back into the Shocked and search for answers on their own. They end up back at the foundling house where Six knocks on the door and the house mother answers, and Six asks if the girls the Abbess selects ever come back to the foundling house, but the house mother says no. Six asks her then for the locations of the two other foundling houses in the Shocked, and they head on their way. But the other house mothers let her know that they have not seen her diviners either. Six just feels so lost, and when the gargoyle tells her not to fear, Six says, quote, "I was so important at Aisling. I thought it would be the same when my service was up, that for all the dreams I've endured, I'd be important in the hamlets too. I tried to be good, to be a perfect diviner and do everything the Abbess told me to. I never complained. I never said no. My worth was written by the rules I followed, but the Abbess called me resentful, a martyr. And maybe I am, but didn't I become that way because her love cost as much?" Six then sees two women hurry down the alley that they are in and notices that they are being followed by three men. As the men are about to pass her and the gargoyle, Six trips them. Six and the gargoyle then get into a brawl with the men after asking them why they are stalking these two girls. One of the men shouts for the guards to help them, and Six and the gargoyle try to flee, but are caught by the guards, who tell Six that there's a warrant out for her arrest. The guards then take them to, of course, Rory. They inform Rory that they found Six fighting two men, and Rory sees that her lip is bleeding again and asks Six if they hurt her anywhere else. Six assures him that she's okay, but Rory still seems disturbed at the sight of her hurt when the gargoyle pipes in and says, quote, "I too am unharmed, right as raindrops." Maude then approaches the two of them and brings Six into the castle so she can freshen up before she meets with Benji. An hour later, Six and the gargoyle arrive in a meeting room to await the king, and the gargoyle is acting in his usual odd manner when Six asks him to comport himself before the king arrives. The gargoyle has no idea what that means, and then the two of them have this conversation, quote, "Sounds like something one does in a chamber pot." That right there, that is not a normal thing to say. Absurdity will throw the conversation off course, and I need clarity from this boy king. For the next quarter hour, every time you feel the compulsion to say something peculiar, smother it. He sank into his chair and sulked. "You ask a great deal of me." In their meeting, Benji explains quite a few things to Six. First, yes, all of the omens are real people. In a loose term, they're real people. And all of their objects are real as well. The same applies for all objects. So each object has two qualities, transportive and destructive. Benji also informs Six that his grandfather, Benedict Castor I, was a beloved king until he was accused of heresy and stoned to death when Benji was only 5 years old. King Castor I was killed because he disavowed the Abbess's story that she tells before each divination about the omens and how they came to be. And instead, he wrote the story of Traum's beginning as such. Approximately 230 years ago, before Aisling was built, 5 craftsmen came to a tour. A thieving merchant, dubbed a brigand, a scribe, an oarsman, a forester, and a weaver. The hamlets had no gods, no ruler, and were overcome by sprites. The craftsmen came to the tour in an attempt to unify, to decide who among them should lead. They fought, of course. Each thought themselves more fit to lead. But just when hope of accord seemed lost, someone else came to the tour. A 6th figure, along with a foundling child. They led the craftsmen to the top of the tour where a great limestone rested. From a fissure in that limestone, water leached. And the 6th figure, the one with the foundling, who made the stone objects. That's the 6th omen, the one with no name, the one we call the Moth. Though, if anyone were to know her name, surely it would be you. She's your Abbess, after all. So, the king claims that the Abbess fabricated her story of the omens being gods to ensure that Aisling was the most lucrative of businesses, and the Abbess is actually the 6th and final omen, the Moth. Benji also informs Six that his father actually rescued Rory because he was an orphan child thieving to earn money while also working for an oppressive master in Castle Luricht. Benji's grandfather discovered Rory on the streets of Coulson Fair and asked him if he knew anything about the omens. And then Rory divulges that his master was the artful brigand himself. The omen employed Rory to steal spring water and also use the coin on the artful brigand's behalf to further his agenda. Benji also informs Six that the Abbess pays the omens to lurk in the shadows because she wants to uphold their mystery. Her paying them is how Benji's grandfather originally located the rest of the omens, by having Rory follow the gold that the Abbess sends to them. With this, the two of them located the faithful forester, and knowing that he would be useless in a fight, the king employed Maude to kill the omen and to take her chime. Maude did succeed in killing the faithful forester, but to this day never located the magic chime. Benji tells Six that the omens are after the spring water, and that is why Benji and his guard came to Ashling. Six asks what Benji's grandfather had to say about diviners, but is disappointed when Benji tells her that he has very little written about them. Benji asks Six to join his quest to take up the mantle, that if he has a holy diviner with him, no one would bat an eye at his movements throughout Traum. Six eventually agrees when Benji tells her that they will aid in her search for her missing diviners, and that once he takes up the mantle successfully, he will shut down Ashling for good. Later, Six is wandering through the grounds, lost in thought, when she stumbles upon Rory sparring with another knight. Hamelin approaches Six while she's watching this fight and tries to test the waters to see if Six would be interested in maybe giving them another go. Six is mid-brushing him off when Rory interrupts and sends Hamelin away. Six tells Rory that she has agreed to join them on their quest to take up the mantle, and he takes her to be properly fitted with armor. While the two are alone in this armory, Rory asks Six why Hamelin approached her during his spar, and Six confesses that she didn't sleep with Hamelin that night at Coulson Fair, and that she only initiated it because Rory's comments about her being devoid of fun really got underneath her skin. Rory apologizes and tells her that he only chided her because he saw how smug she was when they first met, and seeing her believing that the omens were real and holy, he just wanted to rip that shroud away from her eyes. While Rory is measuring Six for her armor, Six and Rory talk about the Abbess. Six tells Rory what she learned about how the Abbess selects the new diviners, that she seeks out the sick to ensure that the foundlings who bear pain the best are selected. And Six confesses to Rory how stupid she feels believing in everything that Ashling pushed. Rory tells her not to feel stupid, saying, quote, "You don't have to be good or useful for someone to care about you." The next day, the crew departs for the Fervent Peaks to hunt for the Ardent Oarsmen. And with them on their journey to go hunt down the Ardent Oarsmen, this is where I'm going to end part 1. Thank you once again so much for watching, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye!